As the episode commences, Langston has two of the former 110th Special Investigators, David O'Donnell and Carla Dixon, strapped to gurneys, which is how he prefers to prep victims for hello dropping. We know this because he has already killed 3 other former members of the 110th using this method. Reacher, who has surrendered himself to Langston and his minions as part of a desperate plan to free O'Donnell and Dixon, is relatively mobile, only his hands are restrained. Surveillance photos don't do you justice. Langston growls, drinking in the Man Mountain with his naked eye at last. We know that Neagley is just outside the fence, with 2 New Age security guards headshot in her crosshairs. Let us extend Neagley the courtesy of believing the 2 guards she kills with rifle shots, and the one she drops with a pistol shot a moment later, are full partners in the murderous conspiracy to sell New Age's missile guidance chips to terrorists. Despite his tied wrists, Reacher uses head smashers, kicks, and most importantly, his all-American can-do attitude to take down 6 guys. Prior to Reacher finishing out these idiots by beating them with both wrists bound behind his back, Langston finds out that the only body that has been brought to the morgue since the hospital fight in the previous episode is Langston's goon's corpse. Which suggests that when Reacher told Langston that Neagley had also been killed at the hospital, he was lying to him. It seems logical that Langston would choose to gratify Reacher whenever the big man asks the whereabouts of Swan, if only to find out whether Swan, in his post-army existence as the number 2 security guy at New Age, purposefully betrayed his old squad mates. Reacher was the sole member of the Special Investigators who hesitated to believe Swan would do this, even after the proof of Swan's culpability became compelling enough to persuade everyone else. Reacher's trust is verified when Langston removes Swan's remnants from a desk drawer, a jar with a chopped fingertip and a dug-out eyeball soaking in formaldehyde. Langton has all that he needs to bypass the biometric measures he established and fake Swan's fingerprint, retinal scan, signature, on different damning papers long after Swan is dead. Ingenious. Also, disgusting. Langston then attempts to force Reacher's participation by shooting O'Donnell in the leg and then instructing one of his yeggs to pull the bullet out. Sir, there's little for forensics to find. Yeah, that way, whomever looks into the deaths of O'Donnell, Dixon, and Reacher will conclude they fell from a helicopter due to natural causes. I believe Mr. Langston is beginning to feel the strain of attempting to keep a multinational arms-dealing conspiracy intact. Neagley's assistance arrives by parachute in the shape of the 3 unnamed private guards Senator Lavoie pledged to give to Team Reacher in the previous episode. 2 SEALs, 1 Ranger, as Lavoie described them. These are the same individuals that led Reacher to an unimpressive stand-in for the National Zoo in episodes 5. These 3 former soldiers coordinate their efforts with Neagley, who, despite her obvious preference for 90s rock, picks Jefferson Airplane's drug anthem, White Rabbit, as the song track for their assault on the building. As a result, Langston abandons his fellow soldiers and escapes into the helicopter that Dixon and O'Donnell have already been loaded into for the drop. Reacher uses a brad, a little office supply that was originally employed by societies from the 20th century to bind pages together so that removal was simpler than possible with staples, to break free from his handcuffs. The brad is hidden under the sole of Reacher's boot. Those bracelets had to have been a custom order, as the first season made it quite evident that Reacher's tree trunk wrists could not fit normal police handcuffs. He heads for that helicopter, burnishing his already spectacular kill total before jumping up to grab one of the landing gear wheels as it lifts off. Reacher's financial constraints have mostly been seen in the overtly Canadian feel of a season that is purportedly set in New York, Denver, Washington, D.C., and other American locales. However, the penny pinching in this episode and the first of the season becomes unavoidable when it comes to the helicopter stunts. It doesn't help that in 2018's Mission Impossible Fallout, the first screen Jack Reacher, a short, sub-6-foot Scientologist man, really did jump up, grab, and eventually climb a rope net dangling from a helicopter. It just doesn't have the same emotional effect to watch a blotchy digital doppelganger of Alan Ritchson cling to a digital chopper. Though the thug Langston sent along keeps beating Reacher's head, he does, dragging himself aboard and even managing to grasp the gurney with Dixon strapped to it with one arm once it rolls out the rear of the helicopter. The computer-generated action doesn't stop as Dixon manages to escape the gurney, scales it and Reacher like 2 ladders, takes out a knife that was stuck in Reacher's arm to prevent her from falling to her death, and uses it to quickly and easily murder the henchman. Reacher executes one of his tactics to eject Langston from the helicopter, just as he had vowed to do. With only minutes remaining in the season, and our big enemy is gone. Reacher, Dixon and O'Donnell instruct the helicopter pilot to transport him to the location where Langston was scheduled to meet up with arms dealer Azari Mahmood, despite their numerous severe injuries. It's a farmhouse. The truck driver who attacked Neagley and Dixon in the 5th episode is with Mahmood when he arrives. Neagley opens the door and kills the driver with a headshot right away as the team replies, but the 4 special investigators who are still alive tell Mahmood to come inside and survive long enough to start talking about how he's simply a supplier and has no concern how the missiles he was going to sell are used. It's a relief that our 4 murderous heroes take Mahmood off stage permanently, firing squad style, as actor Ferdinand Kingsley has failed miserably to make the character remotely intriguing. The New Age engineer Langston brought out to instruct Mahmood how to implant the stolen guidance chips into his arsenal of shoulder-fired missiles hidden in a barn on the property is being held by Team Reacher, along with the helicopter pilot. On order for Neagley, who is amassing an incredible, sociopathic murder total this episode, to prove that New Age's chips are effective, Reacher seems to believe their claims of innocence and permits them to depart on that chopper. The 3 former soldiers Lavoie brought along don't reveal their real colors until she blows up that helicopter as her allies share a beer can. She then tells us, very helpfully, that Lavoie gave them orders to kill every last special investigator once the New Age goons were eliminated. However, Reacher had always been in front of them. At this moment, a SWAT unit is accompanied by Homeland Security officers Reacher and O'Donnell, who were previously seen in episode 5. The 2 SEALs and 1 Ranger instantly give up rather than trying to flee during another gunfight. It seems like everyone is exhausted. The Homeland Security official tells the group of 4 that they are free to go after they had just killed 4 extremely evil people in cold blood at that exact location. He asks Reacher what happened to the $65 million in bearer bonds that were meant to be exchanged at that farmhouse, to which Reacher responds, "What money?" and leaves with a briefcase in a visible place. I realized that I had no idea what bearer bonds worth $65 million looked like. For all I know, that amount may just be 1 page of paper. But clutching a single sheet of paper and entering a cafe in slow motion while listening to a song I can't pretend I recognized, Keep On Risen, by The Crutch, would not look badass for our bloodied but unbowed quartet. Better is the briefcase. Over breakfast and despite Reacher's unpersuasive priests, the 4 decide that Reacher should determine how to use the $65 million they had just appropriated. Reacher asks Neagley, his regular gravy train, for 2 pieces as a sign of taking on this obligation because jukeboxes don't take bearer bonds. It appears that some establishments continue to accept tiny change. Canada is one example. In order to start the montage of the different recipients of his renegade vigilante hobo largesse, all of whom lost loved ones in this bloody affair, Reacher cranks up another unknown needle drop, Beat the Machine, by Quaker City Nighthawks. These recipients include Franz's widow, or Roscoe's girlfriend, seen leaving her bar job in an expensive-looking new convertible, and Detective Russo's brother. The staff of an animal sanctuary is seen in this video appearing bewildered about how to manage an unexpectedly huge cash infusion from an unidentified benefactor. That evening, Reacher's followers congregate at Rockaway Beach, or so a sign says, to find out what rewards he has planned for each of them. Rich accounts have been set up in the names of O'Donnell's children to cover college and private school fees. Reacher has set up 24-hour in-home medical care for Neagley's sick father. For Dixon, his new roommate, he has set up a Delaware LLC that will finance any venture she chooses to do, whether it paint your own pots, forensic accounting, or private investigation. The episode ends with them taking another picture of the special investigators, who are now significantly fewer in number, enjoying another round of drinks around a vampire. All of them are drinking beer, with the exception of O'Donnell, who is continuously sipping from a 5th of Jim Beam. Let the man have a rest, he was just shot a day or 2 before. For the emotionally unstable Reacher, the final 2 tasks are more fulfilling. Come home with me, Dixon invites him as they say farewells in bed the next day following their last night together. I sincerely hope you get to meet my folks. She gives him a mean pause before declaring, I'm f***ing with you. Before she rides in the same taxi as O'Donnell to the airport, Reacher proposes another tryst. Reacher may possess a granite-like chest, but his heart isn't made of stone either. Using Lynyrd Skynyrd's Simple Man to highlight the final parting between Reacher and Neagley, who has always been the closest of his old friends, the season finale finally finds its feet. She makes fun of him for not spending their fortune on anything more than a $1,980 Trailways bus pass that allows them unlimited travel for a year. After murdering so many people, Neagley has become more emotionally open and brave enough to tell Reacher that she can no longer stand to see him just once annually or when one of them is in danger. She questions if he realizes that she and the other ex-special investigators are more than just his pals or his squad. Reacher remains silent, only until a curious fellow passenger on the Trailways bus inquires about his recent activities does the large guy respond, visiting family. It appears that a man who weighs 250 lean pounds and is 6 feet 5 inches tall may still grow. I'm excited for the already revealed third season.